I dived under the keel of the Bahiti. Pockmarked with barnacles and swirling seaweed, in sharp contrast to the patrol boats at either end, it was like the roof of a sea cave. The steamer's idling engines throbbed above me, and metal clattered against metal. Two huge brass propellers glinted in the murky water ahead. They would start turning soon, to take us out of port, but not just yet, I hoped. The quay was now behind me. The Bahiti's bulbous stern swept out above the waterline, and I kept out of sight beneath the overhang. I unclipped the compass and let it drop. I finned up slowly, brushing my hand against the hull from time to time to steady myself. The vibration from the engines pulsed up my arm. My head broke the surface. I was still sheltered by the overhang. There was clamour and movement above me. The world was unmuffled. I took off the mask and let it hang by its tube as I undid the catches on the rebreather and sent it the same way as the compass. Finning to keep my head above water, I felt around in the net and pulled out the modified mine magnet. Well, not so much modified as minus its mine. It was about 20 centimetres by 20, with a thin rubber cushion cemented to one side to prevent a resounding clang inside the ship as the thing grabbed onto the hull, followed by a shower of grenades from the deck. I clipped the carabiner to the steel handle I'd welded onto the other side of the magnet, where the mine had been, then hung onto the net sack and waited for the crew of the Bahiti to get their shit together. For the best part of an hour, the clanking and shouting and general fucking about carried on 7 or 8 metres above me. Then the final one of the crates the Libyans had spent the last few hours loading slid into place a few inches the other side of the hull. There were only 6 crewmen. This rust bucket was about cargo, not Caribbean cruises. But you wouldn't have known it from the amount of hollering and swearing as the gangplank was heaved aboard. By now my fingers were wrinkled and skeletal, and had lost every shred of feeling. The engines rumbled into action, and the hull vibrated like a jackhammer. The back rope was released from a bollard on the quay and splashed into the water about a metre from my head before being hauled aboard. The water behind me started to churn. I didn't know if this thing was going to get towed out by a tug or leave under its own steam. It didn't matter either way, so long as nobody came and started messing about anywhere near me. The boat moved slowly away from the quay, but my legs still came up to the surface. I'd had to keep my fins on in case I got pinged and had to swim for it. Now we were underway, I could kick them off. I didn't plan to hang around much longer. I had to get on board before Liam and his mates got up a decent head of steam. It wasn't long before the lights of the harbour were behind us. The headland emerged from the shadows on my left. The propellers were kicking up a storm. My hands and arms were numb from the cold and the strain of holding onto the net. I fished out a 1-metre pole that could extend to 10. Next came up a roll-up 10-metre caving ladder, with 12.5mm tubular alloy rungs suspended on galvanised 4mm steel wire, and a spring-mounted 4-pronged hook at the top. The whole thing weighed no more than about 3 kilos. All I had to do now was rig the ladder onto the pole, extend it 1-metre section by 1-metre section, twisting it to lock each time. Soon it was fully stretched and vertical, scraping against the side of the ship. Spray splashed my face. With my arm still hooked into the netting, I started to manoeuvre the ladder hook until it grappled onto something solid on the deck. The closest thing I could see was the housing for the mooring rope. The water buffeted against me as we gathered speed, and I had to fight to keep my polearm steady. At least I didn't have to worry about noise. My efforts were entirely focused on getting that hook to engage. There was no point worrying about the magnet. If it gave way, it gave way. Why worry about what you can't change? I just hoped that anyone on the bridge was looking straight ahead and not pissing around on the wings. Fuck it, I'd soon find out. The captain and his mates should be up there behind the steering wheel. The other 4 would be fucking around with the engines and whatever other stuff you needed to keep the ship afloat.